Welcome back to Let's Have the Conversation. I am Desiree B. Stevens, and I pathologize the system of whiteness. Hello, Mona. Hello, Lisa. Look at you guys all up and ready to go this morning. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Um, I want to first acknowledge that I am aware that I have not put out last week's episodes like the replay. I am playing catch up and trying to do so many things. This week is jam packed for me. I'm super excited. I've been invited to two separate groups to discuss community building, to discuss staying, to discuss nervous system regulation, all of those things. Is it? Sue says, what a beautiful surprise to see you again. I'm back, baby. And so it has been wild. On top of that, I am also putting in like two different grant proposals. It is Shady Baby's 7th birthday, 6-7, on Friday. So, and just like coming back full fledged, um, it's just been a lot. It's been a lot. You guys know that I was doing the IEP meeting last week. So it has been so much. So I will be playing catch up. So be prepared and forgive me now for the multitude of emails that you will receive. So you said, so glad you are taking care. You've held so many of us. Thank you. And in return, you guys hold me, right? Like allowing even the space to take away and move and be like, okay, I can't be as live as I would like to be or as present in this one way, and I have to transition to another way is a way of holding me in return. So I deeply appreciate that as well. So get your drinks, your hot drinks, your cool drinks, whatever, whatever. I am working on staying inside of a theme throughout the year. Last year, we started off with the 100 Days of Community, and we were here live every single day. And I love that. And then we transitioned into the 3 times a week. And then I was able to take a break. And this year, I want us to focus on kind of staying in themes. What I realize is many of you follow many of us, right? And I do not want to overwhelm the system. Good morning, Jody. I want it to make sense. I want it to stick. I want us to be deeply intentional about the work that we are doing and ingesting and metabolizing at all times. So I want to kind of stick with themes. If you've noticed, I've not doing weekly liberation lessons. They are monthly. They are coinciding with Leah Tyoxon's astrology report for 2026. And we will be live. Well, not live, but we will have a Zoom on Thursday talking about March, which is where I bring the liberation lesson to her astrological point of view. Another collaboration is myself and Zonba Lines, where we are talking about inconvenient truths of community. So just kind of staying in line with community, how we do this work. So you know that in this space here, that's what we're going to be doing, right? So there's not these jolts to the nervous system. Oh God, what's Des going to be talking about? Yesterday we had Sunday, Somatic Sunday, and we talked about staying. And I'm going to share that with you guys that were not there. Um, and have our 3 talking points, all the same thing. But everything's going to be staying in an arc, myself and Lady Speech, myself and Kokai, all doing the work that we are collabing on together will stay in tune with community building. That is my focus for this year. So we could get really, really good at it. So we could stay, so we could understand, so we can move through rupture and repair, so we can learn the difference between alignment, right, and agreement. We do not need to agree to be in community. I assure you, you may not even like the people you're in community with. I don't all the time, and I am not always likable. It's great when people do like me, but not everybody does, and that is okay. And that is something that we are going to learn as we move through these things. So sit back, grab your water, coffee, tea, whatever it is, and let's get to it. Oh, I needed that too. This morning, we're going to be talking about the power of staying. If you caught myself and Zon Valines' podcast last week, we were talking about how community is not automatic safety. There is this idea that, okay, I'm going to get into community and all of a sudden I'm going to be safe. That is not true. That is not real. On top of that, when you are talking about various dynamics and intersections, you are not always safe for the community that already existed and was built. So when we're watching this huge shift from anti-racism into community building, anti-oppression, etc., you will see this influx of white people like, no, but we need community. We need to all work together. Newsflash, we all needed to work together all of this time. So whilst I understand your awakening, there is a process that you have to go through. And this is that reckoning, right? Where you have got to deal with what has not been created. And we are going to help you create that. But this is going to take certain skill sets. Community takes skills. Conflict takes skills. Conversation takes skills. It's not just something that happens because all of a sudden you see that you are unsafe out there in the world. We know, we've been saying that, and you deserve safety, and I'm going to help you get there. Okay? So, the power of staying. 3 talking points. That's how I do this. 3 talking points, 3 reframes, 3 reflections. The 3 talking points are 1, staying in your body. Bees Free Verse says deconstruction is definitely uncomfortable. Deeply, deeply uncomfortable. Deeply. 2, staying without fawning. This one is super important, and I want you to kind of put a pin in there. 3, staying through tension builds community. See how we have this lovely learning arc? Mm, I love it. I am going to try to be timely as well. So we're going to move through. Staying in your body. Most people think that that they're staying in conversations and they're not. They've already left their body, right? Many of us get, Bees Freeze just noted that deconstruction is definitely uncomfortable. When we get uncomfortable, we have been socialized into certain acts, and dissociation is definitely one of them, right? We kind of leave our body. We're there, we are mimicking, we are performing, listening, but we've checked out. We're out of there. Out of there, out of there, out of there. And I'm not talking about where sometimes with neurodiverse people, there's no eye contact or there needs to be fidgeting. I mean complete and utter dissociation where you leave your body and you're not connecting with yourself. Therefore, you cannot connect with anyone else. So you've left your body. Then you start feeling that uncomfortability, right? Because now you're like, I got to get out of here. Right. So you start arguing. You're arguing from adrenaline. You're apologizing from collapse. I consistently tell people, please stop apologizing for existing. Right. If you don't know something, if you've asked a question 1, 2, 5 times, right, that's collapse. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But no, no, explaining from fear. But let me tell you, this is what I know. Doesn't matter. No, no, because you're not in your body. You are reacting. You are not responding, and you are not metabolizing. You are simply in a freeze, fawn, flight kind of situation wherever you may find yourself. So part of that staying power has to be learning to stay within your body, right? Sometimes we'll smile. Oh, yes, right? And we'll move along and we'll go through it. And that is a form of fawning. So you're uncomfortable and you just smile your way through it, right? And these are things that we're all conditioned into, very specifically when you intersect gender with race, right? Caretaking, nurturing, this idea of who's supposed to hold whose weight. Women, we hear this, women and femmes hear this all the time. Oh, why don't you smile more? Because I don't want to, right? But that is a foreign response, like, hi. No, I'm not smiling. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna stay with my body. I'm gonna honor what I'm feeling. And right now, I don't feel like I wanna smile. In this conversation, I don't wanna smile. In this moment, I don't want to do those things. I want to be in my body. I want to hear what is being said. I do not wanna flatten an experience. I want to fully ingest and metabolize the conversation that is in front of me, that is happening. These are important skills when you are in community. These are deeply important skills when you are having conflict in community because you need to stay, you need to be present, you need to exist. And in order to do that, you have to learn staying with the body for yourself, right? Staying starts in the body, right? You can, like I said, we can mimic and perform listening. But if you are not grounded, feeling that chair underneath you, feeling the floor underneath your feet, whatever brings you back to your body, tap it out. Like, "Oh, okay, I'm here. I can stay here. I can be uncomfortable." When you're able to do that, you are then able to say if something is making you uncomfortable, remember we talked about this before, your discernment. Am I uncomfortable or am I being harmed? Too often in these spaces of community building, of deconstruction, of decolonization, of anti-racism, or whatever space and phase that you are in, too often that gets really deeply confused. Like, "Oh, you're harming me." No, you're just uncomfortable. You're just uncomfortable, and you have to learn the difference of, "Is this harmful or am I uncomfortable?" And the only way you learn that is learning how to stay in your body, learning how to feel those sensations. What is coming up for me? Where is this coming from? When have I experienced this before, right? All of these sorts of things. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Let's run through those. Let's keep it really simple, really elementary to start questioning where is this programming coming from? What is happening in my body? And how do I remain in the midst of discomfort? Okay. So, the reframe that I offer for staying in your body is we think that staying means enduring discomfort. Bees Free says, chronic fixer, learning to breathe and sit through that urge. Yes. We talked about that yesterday on Somatic Sunday, is that fixing is another one, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to make this all better. Some things can't be fixed, friend. Sometimes I don't want it fixed. I want you to hear. I want you to listen. Because when we jump to the fixing, we are not dealing with the root of the issue, right? I could fix uh you guys know I've had so many water problems, and I'm saying that because this damn water tank is leaking again in this cottage, and I came in and there was a pool of water, and I'm like, "Jesus, just I cannot." I fixed this thing a multitude of times. The issue is I have externally exposed pipes, period, right? It's an addition on my property. It runs the plumbing runs to my house, so some of it is underground, right? Like for the toilet and the water for disposal, so it can run into my house and run into, uh, the sewer or what have you. However, there is a portion of the pipe that is exposed. I'm going to consistently have issues. So I fix this one thing. I'm going to fix it really quick without assessing the true issue. Right. So now when I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, shucks, let me go get some pool noodles, some thermal tape, and let's wrap these things up. And 9 times out of 10, I will not have these issues next winter. But when we rush to just fix the immediate, we are not assessing the larger picture and what is the root of the issue, right? So that is definitely one way of escaping and not sitting with that discomfort. So I applaud you for recognizing that, right? And that's what happens when you stay in the body. You start recognizing the things you do to avoid doing the things you need to do. I like that. Trying to remember that one. So the reframe that I offer here is we think that staying means enduring discomfort. No, didn't say that. I'm not saying stay anywhere where you have got to consistently be uncomfortable. That is not it. I am saying that staying means staying regulated enough to choose. You may be uncomfortable. I am not always going to deliver everything with a smile. Many people, I really enjoy the description that people give of me. It was like, I'm not sugarcoating shit here, right? But I'm doing it with deep love. And it is truthfully a deep love of community, humanity, friendships, interconnectedness, a recognition that we are all kin, right? Us, people, living, all the living things, the earth, the sky, the water, all of the living things, we are all interconnected. We are all kin. That is where this work roots in for me. So, yes, I'm going to deliver it. It's not always going to be, with a smile and comfortable, but it is going to be coming from a place of love. So, when you are learning what's discomfort and what's harm, and you're trusting your body, you get to stay and recognize, how do I choose this? Which one, right? So endurance is bracing, right? Like, oof, shit. This is gonna be uncomfortable. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for your presence. Staying means being present, recognizing and even being able to verbalize, this makes me uncomfortable, and I'm gonna stay and do the work anyway. I used to tell people that all the time. The point is staying and doing the work anyway. We're all going to be uncomfortable. We're all uncovering clues and truths about ourselves, about how we show up in the world, about the harm that we've caused. If you think that you walk through this world and you have not harmed anybody, you are lying to yourself. Like, and you need to get over that lie before you could do anything else. I've caused so much harm in my lifetime. I'll be 47 in April, and I have caused harm to those that I love the most. I share with you guys consistently. My eldest doesn't talk to me. Obviously, somewhere down the line, I caused her harm. I've harmed friends, I've harmed lovers, I've harmed spouses, I've harmed systems, right? Yeah, those are good. But I have caused harm in community. That is inevitable. How do you repair? How do you move through the rupture? And you move through that rupture through staying, through being present, right? So endurance says, just get through it. Just get through it, right? Bear down. We can think of how many things can you think of that we've been taught? Grin and bear it is one. I'm not going to grin and bear shit. I'm going to sit down and recognize what's happening in my body. I'm going to honor that truth and I'm going to stay present through it. And if I can't, I get to choose like, hey, this is feeling a little too much for me. Can we please put a pin in it? I'm big on put a pin in it. Let's put a pin on it. We can come back to this, but it's a little too much for me right now. I need to sit with what I've received so far. I'm really big on bullet pointing things and coming back to a conversation. That's my style. You can find your own, right? Staying says, I am here, I can feel this, and I can respond, right? That is how you build capacity. I'm not trying to make you guys tough, okay? I'm not saying suck it up, buttercup. Sometimes I do. I am saying that I want to help you build your capacity, your awareness of self and where you fit in, right? Because yesterday at Somatic Sunday, we practiced that pendulation, right? Let's go to activation. Let's call ourselves back to safety. Let's go back to activation. Let's call us back to safety. These things are going to help you build your capacity. Good morning, team. All right. Two, I'm going to take some more water. My throat is parched. Staying without fawning. I focused on the fawn part because fawning looks like staying. And I want you guys to get, again, some discernment and awareness with your body. Fawning is so deeply intrinsically trained into us due to the way that we are socialized in this world under class, under race, under gender, all of the things, all of the isms. Tane says, I'm sorry I missed Somatic Sunday. I fell asleep 5 minutes before it got started. Sounds like you were honoring your body. That's absolutely fine. If you'd like me, I could email you at least the script, right? I don't like to share out the video unless it was shared in community, but I could definitely email you out the format and what we've discussed. That's not a problem. So, because fawn looks like staying. Fawn keeps the peace, right? We're going to go into those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, folks. Write it down, take a picture, get a magnet. That is always going to remain my free offering. Always pay what you can on those 15 pillars because when you have that, when you know that, you will see how they show up in every single aspect of our lives, which makes it that much easier to dismantle those pillars, right? When we recognize, oh, this is what that's holding up, right? So fawn keeps the peace. That is fear of open conflict. I am I I am not conflict avoidant. I had to do a lot of work to not trying to think of what would be the opposite. I sought conflict. I have a couple of intersections that make me seek conflict. One, I'm neurodivergent as fuck. I'm ADHD. So I am, and I mean old school 1980s Ritalin baby. So I am dopamine seeking at all times. And a conflict, a fight, a problem is like, delicious to my brain for the adrenaline and the dopamine. Add to that, I'm an Aries, whether you want to believe in that or not, but I am governed by Mars and the god of war. I am always ready. Ancestrally, I am Irish and Black. We have endured so much and are have never begun, never back down, never stopped, right? Still fighting, still enduring, still going on. When you start putting all of those things together, I am bred for conflict. Like it brings me joy. Like, oh, there's a problem. Here I come. I let's solve it. However, by any means necessary. So this one is an interesting one for me because I really recognize that people are socialized, very specifically, like I said, when you start coming into those intersections of race, of class, of gender, women, femmes socialize into fawning. That idea of keep the peace is fear of open conflict. Fawn keeps the tone light, right? Oh, I understand. Deepen your voice. Take a breath. Feel that and speak from your gut. Okay. That high voice is a head voice. That code switching white woman telephone voice. Hi. Oh yes. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it activates me to perform it. I want you to find your own voice, your own octave. Where is that in your body? And where is this voice coming from? That is something that you need to practice. Is this a voice that you've been trained to use so you could, again, lower conflict? Oh, we need to lower our voice. For what? Uh, why? Oh, is it activating you? Okay, I could do that. I don't need to lower my voice. But if it's something that is activating you because we're in community, I could do that because you may feel threatened by my voice, but I don't need to. Right? I don't need to change how I speak in order for someone to hear me. They have to make a choice to stay in their body, right? And they have to make a choice to be willing to hear even when it's a conflict with them. So, fawning smooths edges, and fawning says it's fine when it isn't. Okay. We got to be able to name this is not okay. And like I said, it does not mean that you have to go to war in that moment, but we can name this is not okay. We are going to have to deal with this. Let me know when you're able to deal with this, put some constraints on there, put some timelines, make some agreements, whatever that looks like. But I am not going to fawn. I'm not going to back off of it because it makes me uncomfortable. Again, find the difference between uncomfortable and harmful. I am not telling you to be in unsafe spaces or confront people that you know will harm you in one way or another, be it physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, etc. Culturally, especially for women and especially for Black women and femmes, fawn gets rewarded. Oh, you're so mature. You're so calm. You're easy to work with. May I be the most difficult thing you ever find in your life. I pray to be difficult. Like, I wake up wanting to be difficult because and not in a fighting sort of way. I don't ever want it to feel like I'm fawning, that I'm backing down. And I can concede certain points. We can find mutual agreements. We can do all of that collective work together, but you will not simply bowl me over, right? I will not simply be like, yes, absolutely not. The thought of it is hilarious to me. Dane says, thank you for that distinction. Super happy to offer it. Super happy to offer it, right? So when you hear things like this, I want us to start thinking about that. Like, are they mature? What are you defining that against, right? What is the metric for someone being mature? For someone being calm, for someone being easy to work with. And who does that metric serve? Right. We're going to go through this. I used to, when I was doing my weekly group things, who, what, when, where, why, how. Love that. Right. Like it's such a beautiful format. Who is that serving? What is the metric? Why am I doing it? How can I change? All of these things we can move through with that simple little framework. I will add that into this too. So internally, though, what's happening in your body? Good morning, Dinah. right? When you are doing this fawning, is your jaw tightening, right? Because you're smiling, but you're gritting those teeth in the back. Does your chest collapse? Like, because you are falling in on yourself, right? You are literally collapsing. You're like, "Oh my god," because you're folding, and you don't need to fold. And I don't mean this in all state in all fight, 'cause that's not healthy either, but you are allowed to express a conflict. You are allowed to express that this is not aligned, right? Or even if you don't agree. And why don't you agree? Those are questions you need to ask yourself, right? So, your spine curves, right? You start seeing that little, like that fawning, if you can feel it in the physical thing. And that is literally you disappearing. Okay. You are disappearing in the conversation. You are disappearing in the community. You are disappearing in your workspace. You are disappearing at home. And you are worthy of existing, of taking up space in your own body. This is your flesh suit. Who else is supposed to take up space in it if you're not? Okay. You must take up space. So, the reframe that I offer here for staying without fawning is harmony is not the same as connection. Things may seem really sweet and like, oh, right, all of this, we're not connected. We're not actually in community. We are performing, right? Harmony, thinking of words. Ooh, I got to get back to PAX. Thinking of like music things, right? You can have a beautiful band playing amazingly together. It's so harmonious, right? The singers are in tune. Everybody seems to be on one accord. And they get backstage and hate each other. Absolutely can't stand. They're great together singing though. It's absolute they make beautiful music. That's harmony. That does not mean that there's connection. And those 2 things don't always coexist. So learning that discernment, recognizing, are we harmonious or are we in connection, right? Because sometimes that's not the same thing, and that's important to notice. Connection can hold tension. Harmony avoids it. Right? We need to be able to hold that tension between us to say, this is not working. I want it to work if that's something that you do. I want to remain in community with you, but we have got to move through this tense point. And we can only do that when we're able to stay in our own bodies and honor our own truths. So, staying means keeping your shape in the room. You do not need to escalate. You do not need to shrink. You simply remain. Right? You are here, I am there. And from this point is where you start building those boundaries. You have healthy boundaries, right? Because boundaries mean I and you can coexist without either one of us shrinking. I'm loving on me, I'm loving on you, and vice versa, right? Your boundaries end exactly where my nose begins. Like that. 2 separate beings, and we do not need to collapse, disappear, or shrink in order to coexist. That is a very important distinction and the catalyst to your boundaries. Where do you exist? Where do you end? You cannot meld into another. That is also not community or connection. It could be harmonious because you've fallen into another, so you're making this happen, but it does not mean that there's connection. Dinah, connection and harmony. Yes. Good morning, honey. When you could recognize that difference of harmony versus connection. We may sound good together, we may look good together, but we have nothing else that's holding us together. Because when tension comes, I collapse, I fawn, I'm running, whatever may be happening. So we are not connected. And that is something that you need to understand. And when you can understand that, you start building boundaries between yourself where you can remain and that other person can remain, and that's sovereignty. You like that? More water. Take a breath. Talking point 3, staying through tension builds community. This is a big one because fear of open conflict, perfectionism, only one right way, either or thinking, so many of those pillars exist when we're coming into this work. No, I know how to do it. No, I know how to do it my way, friends. Okay. I'm not saying I'm the end all be all to anti oppression, anti racism, community building. I'm not. There's so many people out here doing this work, and I'm loving that. There's so many people moving into somatic work, nervous system regulation. So many people recognizing this is grief work, this is trauma work. When I first began, I was offering somatic breaks even on TikTok. I'm like, okay, you know what? We've done enough. We've done enough. I used to give lessons and I'm like, take a somatic break. I would usually like do an overlay of the rain or my kids playing or the chickens of real life. And I'm like, take a break, right? When I first began, I reminded people this is grief work, this is trauma work. And I am seeing so many people move to that. And I'm loving that because what that says is we are starting to come on one accord. Right? We are starting to align. That ancestral energy is coming down the pipeline and moving this movement forward to help us get into community onto the other side of this hellscape that we are existing in. And I'm just here to help you build those skills. Dinah says, yes, staying through tension builds community. Thumbs up. Correct. So community does not break because of conflict. That is a misnomer, right? Oh, we're not friends anymore because we had this problem, this beef. Oh, I don't want to be in that community anymore. No, that's white people shit. I'm going to just be honest and say that as uncomfortable as that make you feel because white systems of whiteness demand, demand conformity and assimilation. Demand it in order to exist, right? Like as long as Christianity has existed, colonial Christianity has existed, colonial structures of whiteness have existed, it is always excommunicated, push people out. If you do not conform to this, if you do not assimilate to this, you are not allowed here. You do not. And that you can see that in the anti-racism work too. This person has this person believes that, this person votes this way, you're not allowed. And and I'm like, are we not trying to get to a different world where these things don't exist? How are people not allowed? Tiffany says all conflict was bad. Sue says yes, they do demand it. Absolutely. Tiffany says I was raised to not be confrontational at all. I've been working on unlearning this for some time. Well, stick around because you're going to learn this. Um, I was never raised that way. Like, again, I was raised by Irish women. Like, no, we confront things head on, head on, head on, head on. And I learned this in home. This was like, absolutely not. We're gonna deal with this. Oh, so I heard that you said what? Right? Like, I'm not saying that it was the healthiest way because we were brawlers. So there's a balance, but, I was absolutely raised and all of the women around me, and I think that is where the distinction between white Americanness and ethnic whiteness really unfolds for me, where I'm like, "No, this is a very deep construct that white womanhood was forced and assimilated and broken into serving patriarchal norms. Because outside of that, when I've ever been around, and at the time that I was growing up in New York City, it was very much ethnic identity. Yeah, but the women I was raised around, at least, and that could absolutely be anecdotal, were taught to confront things. Tiffany says, my family doesn't talk about shit still to this day, especially if it's uncomfortable. It's so unhealthy. Deirdre says, we have to be able to imagine a world where we all belong. Yes, fucking yes. That is my point. I am not about to argue with people. This is alignment versus agreement. I don't give a shit who you voted for at this point in time. I literally want to know, are you interested in knowing how that choice has harmed me? If they are willing to listen to that, they are willing to work in that tension, right? Your choice harmed me. I, you may not have meant that to be intentional, right? And we have to think about all of the choices that harm all of the people. I am saying this sitting on a fucking iPhone with a MacBook in front of me. Couple grand worth of materials that some children are mining to power this battery. Every choice that we make underneath this system as it currently is harmful to another person. What I do not do is quantify the amount of harm. Well, you harmed me more, you harmed them more. No. I also do not blame people for survival. I move through things a lot differently because I love that the way you place that, Deirdre. We have to imagine that. We've got to imagine a world where we all belong. We have to imagine a world outside of the current constructs that we have. I'm not looking for, I don't want to. I don't want to turn my state blue. I don't want it to exist. I want self-governance. I want land back to the indigenous folks globally. I want reparations and I want self-governance. I want a true matriarchal flow, which does not mean patriarchy and pink. It means child-led, child-centered community building. That is what I want. And so none of these things are going to serve us over there until we learn how to move through those things. Tiffany says, yes, all of that. Exactly, right? So we are not taught very much. We are socialized to not stay in tension, right? We turn around and say, okay, well, let's get back to it. Community breaks because people leave at the first sign of discomfort, right? So what I had said where I went to onto this tangent was community does not break because of conflict. Conflict is not the problem. Conflict is not the problem. Repair. Okay. There is no relationship that you are going to have in your life where there will not be a rupture. Not a one. If you are in a relationship that you are deeming perfect and we just never argue, we never disagree, that is unhealthy as hell. Okay. And somebody is doing a lot of performing. Okay. That's for me, that's kind of where you get into that love bombing. Oh, that person is perfect. How? How are no, right? Conflict does not break up communities. Conflict does not break up relationship. Communities and relationship break because people leave at the first sight of discomfort. People do not have the skills to sit in the rupture and do the repair work, right? Put that parentheses around the re, that's the prefix. To do again, pair to bring together. People do not have the skills for repair. That is why community breaks. That is why friendship breaks. And sometimes they do need to. I'm not saying that everything needs to be repaired. And I'm not even saying that repair means reconnection. I am saying that conflict is not the problem in community. It is the willingness, the ability, and the skill set to repair that breaks communities and relationships. Tiffany says, oh, yeah, I have to fight a real internal fight or flight reaction to conflict. Absolutely. Most of us do. Bees Free says, how to stay to repair is something that isn't taught for most people. It's not, but it is here. This year arc is amazing. I really hope that you guys stay throughout this year. I shifted so much when everything happened with Renee Good and then Alex Pretty. And I was like, oh, we have white people's attention. That is an unfortunate truth in regard to how the attention was had, but it was inevitable, right? It was inevitable. And now that we are here, I'm like, mhm, let's play a game. Okay, so community does not break because of conflict. Community breaks because people leave at the first sign of discomfort. Fight, blight, freeze, fawn. Supremacy culture trains exit, right? It does not teach us to stay. Sense of urgency pushes us to react, right? If you go back and listen to that podcast between myself and Zon, everything is not a right now conversation. No, right now is not going to happen right now. It's not. I don't. That's a temper tantrum, right? I have children. I have raised five in my home. Um, that's a temper tantrum. Those are valid. This is not me saying dismiss children. You know, I actually treat children like people. I know that's fucking mind blowing. This is saying right now is not the time, right? This is get up off the floor. Like we could discuss this in the car. We could discuss this at home. If we have the time and space, we could discuss this now. But I need you to get regulated. I can't reason with you when you're screaming and kicking on the floor. Can't have that conversation. Fear of open conflict pushes us to avoid, right? This is that idea of keep the peace. Oh, you know how that's just boys will be boys. That's how your dad is. Oh, well, she got her feelings hurt. None of that. We all have something. The more we recognize that we are all responding and or reacting from trauma, from hurt, from our own true lived experiences, the more humanity that we cultivate. And I realize that we're all going through something. I also realize you can't treat me a certain type of way. I also realize that we need to confront how these systems are impacting and how we play a part in these systems, in no matter what system that we're discussing. If we're talking about classism, if we're talking about ableism, if we're talking about racism, if we're talking about any of the phobias, any of the isms, that is something that we need to confront. Now, we all got trauma. Cry me a river. I don't know what to say about that. Yes, that should be the connection, not where we stay. We're not building trauma bonds. We are recognizing each other's humanity. We are all coming from a point of hurt, from a point of trauma, hopefully grieving these realities and trying to see how we stay with the tension, how I remain in my body, how I continue to keep my sovereignty, have my boundaries, loving me, loving you, and still dealing with the conflict at hand. That is the point. Defensiveness pushes us to protect the ego. Listen, pride goeth before the fall. Sometimes people's egos are too big to exist in community, right? Because they are unwilling to admit that they are wrong. They are unwilling to admit, may not have gotten this right. I may have taken a misstep. I'm going to say this. I said this on Somatic Sunday. I've said this throughout the years. I Your leaders have got to remain approachable. Okay. If at any point in time I become beyond reproach, if at any point in time it's my way or no way, leave. You are not safe. I have now moved into, I'm so ego driven, I can't see any flaws and nobody is perfect. I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to say, oh, wow, that was wrong. My bad, right? That's super necessary. The right to comfort punishes discomfort, right? This idea that you're supposed to always be comfortable, everything is supposed to feel yummy, yummy, warm inside, right? This spiritual bypassing that has happened inside of white wellness spaces is the antithesis to healing. You're not always going to feel good. You're going to have to sit with that discomfort. You're going to have to sit with some very uncomfortable truths. You're going to have to move through, where did this come from? How do I get through it? You're going to have to find out where your pipes are exposed, friends, or you're going to keep having leaks. That's just that simple. So staying dismantles all of that. All of that at the same time. Let me go up to Lisa. Lisa says, just because I resolve a conflict doesn't mean that the person is entitled to access to me again. Absolutely. That's why I say repair does not mean reconnection. Like, we could fix it, repair it, and I still don't want to fuck with you. Like, cool, great. Now, what we don't have is constant conflict, right? Now, every time I pass you, I don't want to bump you like we were in junior high school, walking through the hallway. Okay, cool. We moved through that. I appreciate that. I still have no desire to be connected to you whatsoever. And that's absolutely fine. Sue says, thank you for making that about white wellness spaces. Oh, yeah, because that spiritual bypassing, like, no, we're just gonna breathe through. What? Breathe through what? You have not confronted anything that even choked you up to open you up to breathe through. That is something that we must get into. We are not able to bypass it. Sue says, naming it. Oh, no problem. So thank you for naming that about white wellness spaces. Absolutely. Because it is something that needs to be named. And it's not an indictment, right? Like, it's not like, oh, you're just horrible people or horrible spaces. It is, you don't know and you are doing this and it is harmful. And it still is not building community, right? Like I always say about yoga in white wellness spaces, I'm like, what if you just called it stretching? What if you just called it stretching and breathing, because yoga is an entire spiritual practice that comes with a lot more than, a freaking glorious sun pose, what have you. There's so much more to it than just that, right? And when we do that, we're bypassing the harm that we are taking portions of someone's spiritual practice and imposing it upon people and saying, "This is gonna make you better," with none of the philosophical backings and the thousands of years of true yogahood, true yoginess, true bodhisattva, right? Like, none of that is actually happening. You are telling people to breathe and stretch, and that's supposed to be a healing modality. It is for tense bodies, it is not for deeper connection. That's all. There we go. So, the reframe that I offer here for staying through tension builds community is conflict is not a threat. Okay. Let's move that out, right? Let's take that away. Conflict is not a threat. Incapacity is, though. If you do not have the capacity to be in tension, that is a threat to community. If you do not have the capacity for conflict, that is a threat to community and connection. If you do not have the capacity for conversation, for repair work, that is absolutely incongruent to being in community and in relationship and having connection with people. The ability to stay in tension without collapsing or controlling is what makes repair possible. Staying in community is infrastructure. Okay. So shake that on, shake it on. We made it through our three talking points. And I'm still under time. I'm super proud of us. Me, because it's me. It's not you guys, it's me. So, our three talking points were: one, staying in your body; two, staying without fawning, because that's often mistaken for being present; three, staying through tension builds community. Now, here's what I want to offer: three reflection points. I'm always going to drink my water. I want you guys to do the same. Stay hydrated. I want you to ask yourself, one, where do I leave my body first when I feel discomfort, right? Feeling that in where did my body go? Where did I leave? Did my thoughts wander first, right? Did my body collapse? Did I fold? What happened? Where do you leave your body first when you feel discomfort? When you start learning yourself, you learn yourself. I mean, there's nothing more tangible than that. When you start learning how your body leaves, how it exits a situation, you are able to then build the capacity of saying, "Oh, let me grab that back." Okay, so my mind goes first, right? Because I'm sitting here, I'm gonna tell you, for me, because of the way I grew up, and I grew up in a violent way, right? Exposed to in-home violence, outside violence. So as soon as conflict comes up, my head leaves because I'm sizing you up. See? How am I going to defend myself? Because I perceive initially, and I probably always will for the rest of my life. So, again, a lot of this healing work is not going to stop those things. It is giving you the capacity to move beyond your initial response. So, my initial response for conflict is like, warrior stance. Like, now I'm sizing you up. I'm not hearing you. I'm trying to see where are you most vulnerable so I can protect myself, because I am anticipating that this conflict is going to end in violence, because that is what my trauma has told me to be true. That is what my lived experience has told me to be true. That may not be true for you, and I love that for you. But you have to figure that out. Where does your body go? So my body leaves to get immediately into warrior. Align, and where can I stop this threat? So then for me, when I recognize that I'm doing that, I'm like, okay, you are safe. You are 46. You're not about to be fighting anywhere. Like, are you really in danger? Is this person posing a threat? So I come back into alignment with myself, and I'm like, okay, I am safe. I am back here in my body. I am able to hear this. I am able to hold this tension. And if I need to sit with it, then I'm gonna sit with it. Like, wow, you said some things and you really brought that to my attention. I don't have words right now, but can I come back? Right? Own it, taking that accountability. I could see that. I could see where I did do that. Yes, that is your ownership of it, right? Make an apology if there is one that you truthfully feel, "You know what? I apologize. That was not what I was meaning to do, but I could recognize that impact matters over intent. And then the repair work is, what can I do to make this better between us? That three-step process. If I can remember, I will share. I did this three-step process with Shady Baby when she caused harm with a classmate. So these are things that I'm teaching even with my own children. So moving through that, right? So ask yourself, where do I leave my body first when I feel discomfort? Two, where do I confuse fawning with kindness? Because this is a big one. It's such a big part of white womanhood, which in turn becomes a part of Black femininity and womanhood because we are socialized around you guys and had to learn how to survive through watching you guys survive, right? So, like, ask yourself that. Where's your fawning happening, right? Am I actually being kind or am I fawning? Am I offering the smile because I genuinely want to smile? Sometimes when somebody tells me to smile, I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I do want to smile. Thank you for that reminder, right? Kind of gets me out of my head, brings me back to reality every single time. It doesn't feel like a threat to my body. Then there are sometimes when somebody's like smiling, I'm like, fuck you. Like, I don't want to. You smile. Like, what I'm not about to do that. Learning those differences, right? Like, are you disconnected? And that could bring you back to your grounding. You do not owe niceness is not the price that you pay for existence in this world. So recognize, are you fawning? Are you being kind? Three, what would change in my relationships, right? Asking yourself, what would change in my relationships if I stayed 10% longer before reacting? My children teach me this. And I have to apologize and make repair constantly with my children. But I have learned to stay 10% more, right? And I am constantly hoping to stay 10% more when they start. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not trying to deal with it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I could do this. Let me hear you. Let me hear you. Jody says, "Will you please repeat that again? I missed the word." Oh, it's where do I confuse fawning with kindness, right? Too often we think that being kind is the thing that we're doing, and actually you're just fawning. I gave the example of the smiling as such, right? Sometimes when a man or anybody, usually it's a man, tells me to smile, I check in with myself. I'm like, oh, you know what? Hey, I thank you. Thank you. You brought me back to my body. Maybe I was thinking about something, maybe I was lost, maybe I was frustrated, and that was a reminder for me. But I know that in my body. There's other times where somebody, a man or something, or anyone will be like, smile, and I'm like, no, you smile. Right? Because I'm not in that place and space. So asking yourself, am I fawning? So, like, giving up that smile, like, or being kind. For me, I will always choose kindness, right? And also, again, are we in an unsafe situation? If fawning is going to help you save your life, do that. Not taking that away from you. Super welcome. So again, what would change in my relationships if I stayed 10% longer before reacting, right? What does that look like? Taking a deeper breath, right? Taking a sip of water, doing what I'm doing right now. Like, okay, you know what? Hey, I could do this. I could stay a little bit more. I got a little bit more to give before I react, right? And that little bit of 10% of staying is going to help you move from reaction to responding. And that is how you're going to build your capacity for conflict, for tension, for repair, all of those sorts of things. So we did it. I stayed under. So, with this replay, which I will be doing right away, the back replays will be coming, but this one will be here simply because we are in March, friends. It is beautiful. The weather is shifting. We are now moving into the season of renewal. And March is asking us to understand what is beginning, what is starting, right? We were rooting down deep in the wintertime. We were doing the season of self work deeper, right? Buried in introspective. shaking off those leaves, right? Like honoring the cycles of nature. And now we're in March, right? March forward. What are we beginning? Things are budding, ideas, things that you've learned. So March is asking to understand what is beginning. It asks whether you can stay with yourself while it begins and how to build capacity. Okay. Tiffany says, thanks for this. I popped in late, so I'll go back and replay the first bit I missed. Awesome discussion. Thank you so much from Bees Freeze. Oh, I love this. And I'm so thankful to be back. And like I said, this one will come out immediately. I will take the transcript and just like put it out here for you guys with a quick recap. Um, and the back ones will be coming. If you are new here, Mondays is always offered to everyone. Wednesdays and Fridays is absolutely paywalled. If you cannot pay financially, I understand we are all surviving capitalism. There are no question asked scholarships. Scholarships with an S at Desiree B. Stevens with a PH.com. No questions asked. You tell me, I will 100% comp you. No issues whatsoever. So do that. We are not paywalling. We're not stopping liberation for no money. Okay. Tina says, glad you're back. I'm glad to be back too. I needed that. We've gotten the healing homestead. Things are still moving on. So we're doing a lot. And I needed that time to kind of center and focus on getting that space together. I'm really hoping that come the summer that things are more active and in person. Have a lot of things lined up. Hoping you have a little summer camp as well for the tiny humans. So a lot of things are happening. Bees Free says, so grateful for you. And I'm grateful for you and for being here and for tuning in. Jody says, you have so many amazing things to share. Thank you so much for doing this. Wow, I'm blown away. Thank you, Jody. I love this. I love this work. I love my little life. I love that I am able to think, right? Like a lot of people do not have the privilege of being able to sit down and just think, like, oh, right. And that is something that is deeply missing from society, right? Like when we think back on the great philosophers and great thinkers and artists and musicians, and this world is becoming so bland because all of that has been stripped out of it, right? We even see that with modern day decor, right? Gray and white. It's very dystopian. So let's bring back more color in all of the ways. All right. I love you guys. I will see you on Wednesday and we will continue on this arc of liberation. Inside of this, I will also put Thursday, 12 o'clock, Healing Homestead Zoom. Leah will be live. She comes once a month to deliver that astrology report and where we are collectively in the world. That comes alongside with a liberation lesson that aligns with that. And she will be live. I may be live with her this time too. So join us. But everything will be in here. Thank you guys so much. Hi, Susan. Jody says I'm all about color all the time. Me too, honey. In all the ways. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, babies.